You've asked for it, and we're bringing it to you. Our first ride impressions on the new Pyga Slakline. Straight out of Pietermaritzburg, just like its shorter travel sibling the Hyrax, which we reviewed previously, this is the new hand-welded aluminium enduro bike from Pyga. Click on the card above to watch the bringing it home story of Pyga moving their manufacturing back into South Africa. Pyga have dubbed the Slakline as a no-compromise 29er enduro rig. It's built to be capable on the descents as well as efficient in climbing. For hard charges and people who want a bit more bike to look after them. This bike was made to take any fast and technical trail in its stride. Here's what we think after our first rides. First things first, to give a bit of context and reference, let's talk about the geometry. I've been riding the large Slakline. At 178 centimeters tall, I could ride either the large or the medium bike. I've opted for the more stable proportions of the larger bike instead of what would have been a more playful feeling on the medium. The figures of this frame are a 480mm reach, 435mm chainstays, seat tube angle of 77.1 degrees, and a head angle of 64.5. That's in the low setting. 65 degrees in the high setting. The BB height is 344mm in low and 349mm in the high. These figures result in a generous wheelbase of 1,243mm. The geometry is progressive but not radical, which makes for a well-balanced bike that's easy to get along with. These figures are not too far from the previous Slakline, which was right on the mark in terms of handling. They've just been tweaked and updated to suit the 29-inch wheels and capability of the bike. The geometry is progressive but not radical, which makes for a well-balanced bike that's easy to get along with. These figures are not too far from the previous Slakline, which was right on the mark in terms of handling. They've just been tweaked and updated to suit the 29-inch wheels and capability of the bike. When we're talking enduro, there are often big climbs involved before we get to the good stuff. With that in mind, an enduro bike needs to pedal efficiently enough to get you up to the trailhead with as much ease as possible so that you've got the energy to shred the descents. Thanks to some suspension kinematic wizardry by Pat Morwood, the Slakline is able to do just that. We've never actually used the climb switch on the Super Deluxe shock. Riding with it open makes for a good balance of traction and support through the anti-squat. This traction shines through on technical and loose climbs. We were genuinely amazed at the bike's ability to manage technical ascents. Despite the slack head angle, the front wheel is manageable on the climbs, not hunting around too much. The steep seat tube angle of 77 degrees positions you well centered on the bike, which means you don't get that sliding off the back feeling on the steeper climbs. This also puts you in a very efficient pedaling position that makes all the difference on the long climbs typical of enduro riding. The Slakline isn't quite as responsive as the Hyrax, but it performs well in terms of traction and efficiency. This is a big travel bike and so obviously will not have the same feel as a marathon bike on the climbs. But settle into a steady rhythm and the Slakline will have you comfortably at the trailhead in reasonable time. Once you have made your way to the top of your trail of choice, point the Slakline downhill and feel it come alive. The first things that we noticed were the balanced handling and mountains of traction. The centered riding position means that there is good weight distribution between the wheels in the corners. That, coupled with the plush suspension and chunky tires, had us blown away by the amount of traction that the bike generates. On a technical trail such as our local, the Cobra, the Slakline rarely shows what it's capable of. We were impressed with the agility of the bike in the corners, even with the bigger 29-inch wheels. The geometry here rarely comes through and makes the bike great to handle in the corners. As far as the rougher riding goes, this bike just plows through rough terrain. The large reserves of travel are generously used to soak up the terrain and keep you on line. This bike means business when you're looking for speed. With the suspension being more supple than the Hyrax, we were concerned that the bike wouldn't be as playful. But it isn't shy to get air off any feature on the trail that you might choose. There is definitely more trail feedback that we experienced on the Hyrax, typical of a shorter travel bike, where the Slakline had a more magic carpet feeling. This can be a matter of preference, but what is certain is that the Slakline comes out on top in terms of raw speed. We haven't once felt like the bike was holding us back. Just like the Hyrax, the Slakline has a rock-solid build that has prioritized key components such as the brakes and suspension. The bike comes stock with the new 170mm RockShox Lyric Select Plus, RockShox Super Deluxe RCT offering 160mm of travel, 780mm alloy deed riser bars and a 40mm stem, powerful SRAM code RSC brakes, SRAM centerline rotors, 180mm at the back and 200mm up front, SRAM GX Eagle 12-speed drivetrain, Truvative Descendant cranks, alloy deed Trend 30 29-inch wheels with 30mm internal width, Maxxis Minion DHR front and back, and the Bike Yoke Revive 160mm dropper with the Triggy remote. On my personal bike here, I have chosen to build it up with local line components and apply some African Feels frame protection. The front triangle and rear stays are made from hand-welded aluminium. The front triangle of the Slakline is identical to the Hyrax and thus offers ample room for a water bottle and the tool attachment of your choice. The build that you get on this bike is great value for money and really leaves little to be desired. All in all, we would say that the Slakline is the no-compromise enduro rig that Pyga promise. Comfortable on the climbs and more than capable to handle whatever you throw at it on the way down. If you're seeking to go faster and push your limits, or a stable bike to get you down the rough stuff, the Pyga Slakline is the bike for the job. We have put links in the description for you to find a local dealer and test out a demo, or become an owner. Thanks for watching this episode of All Ride. Feel free to leave any comments on the episode below. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on those notifications. Catch you next week. Cheers! Firing. That we can hear. Hey!